In 1982, one torpedo flipped the game of modern warfare. Imagine this: a tiny group of islands, thousands of miles from anywhere, suddenly becomes the center of a global crisis. These were the Falkland Islands, a windswept British territory in the South Atlantic, also claimed by Argentina as Las Malvinas. When Argentina's military junta invaded the islands, most of the world, and even some in Britain, thought it was over. The islands were 8,000 miles away from London. Sending a fleet to fight seemed impossible, a relic of a bygone colonial era. The Argentinians were banking on Britain not having the will to fight back. They were wrong. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, in a move that stunned observers, announced that Britain would retake the islands by force. A massive naval task force, cobbled together in days, set sail south. It was the largest British naval operation since the Second World War. On board were thousands of soldiers, state-of-the-art Harrier jets, and a fleet of warships. But as they sailed towards the icy waters of the South Atlantic, they were heading into a deadly trap. Argentina wasn't just a small, regional power. Their air force was formidable, equipped with French-made Exocet missiles. Argentina's navy had the Air General Belgrano. The Belgrano was a relic, but a powerful one. Originally a U.S. Navy cruiser that survived Pearl Harbor, it was now the pride of the Argentinian fleet. Armed with 15 6-inch guns and supported by 2 destroyers, it posed a grave threat to the British carriers. As the British task force entered the total exclusion zone they had declared around the islands, tensions reached a fever pitch. The clock was ticking. Deep beneath the waves, a British nuclear-powered submarine, the HMS Conqueror, was silently stalking its prey. The Conqueror had been tracking the Belgrano for days. The Argentinian cruiser was a massive shadow on their sonar screens, a ghost from another era armed for a modern fight. The British commanders faced a terrifying dilemma. The Belgrano was currently outside the 200-mile exclusion zone, but its course was a clear threat. If it turned towards the British fleet, its guns could wreak havoc. The rules of engagement were murky. Attacking a ship outside the declared war zone was a massive political and military gamble. Then came the decision. A coded message flashed from London to the HMS Conqueror. The order was direct and chilling. Sink the Belgrano. The submarine's commander, Chris Refford Brown, had his orders. He calmly gave the command to fire. 3 old-fashioned World War II torpedoes were launched. They were unguided, straight-running weapons, but at that range, they didn't need to be smart. They just needed to be lethal. 2 of the 3 torpedoes struck the Belgrano. The first hit near the bow, blowing it completely off. The second slammed into the ship just behind the second funnel, tearing a massive hole in its side and destroying the crew's mess decks. Power was lost instantly. The ship was plunged into darkness and chaos. Without electricity, they couldn't pump out the water or even send a distress signal. The order was given to abandon ship. The Belgrano, once a proud symbol of naval power, began to slip beneath the waves. It took only about an hour to sink into the freezing Atlantic. The human cost was catastrophic. Of the nearly 1,100 crew members, 323 lost their lives. Many died in the initial explosions, while others perished in the icy water or on life rafts, waiting for a rescue that came too late. The sinking was the single largest loss of life in the entire Falklands War. The news sent shockwaves around the world. In Argentina, it was seen as a brutal act of aggression, a war crime. The Belgrano had been sailing away from the British fleet, they argued, posing no immediate threat. In Britain, it was defended as a necessary military action to protect their forces. The controversy still rages today. Was it a calculated military necessity or a political decision designed to escalate the conflict and eliminate any chance of a peaceful settlement? Whatever the truth, the strategic impact was immediate and undeniable. Overnight, the entire war changed. That single strike forced Argentina's navy to retreat into its home ports for the remainder of the war. They were terrified of Britain's silent, unseen nuclear submarines. The threat of another Belgrano-style attack was too great. This decision effectively removed the Argentinian surface fleet from the equation, giving the British Royal Navy control of the seas. It proved that in modern warfare, no ship, no matter how powerful, is safe from a determined submarine. It also demonstrated that even in a conflict over a few remote islands, the stakes could become global, and that no war is ever truly small. The sinking of the Belgrano was a brutal lesson in the realities of power, technology, and the cold, hard calculus of war. A lesson written in the icy waters of the South Atlantic. Thanks for watching.